lovely full room. Okay. As Noel said, my name's Raoul. I've been a Hunt Saboteur for the last 34 years. When I first got into sabbing, it was just me and a few mates going out there. We didn't really have much of a clue what we were doing, but luckily about 16 years ago I bumped into some very organised guys called the Croydon Hunt Sabs, and joined up with them, started getting out and being a lot more effective at sabotaging hunts. Okay. Sorry, usually I get told I've been too noisy. Actually, it's really unusual being told to speak louder. Okay. I'll try to project to the better. Okay, so I got involved in the Croydon Hunt Sab group, and through them ended up actually on the committee of the Hunt Saboteurs Association. And about 3 years ago we actually set up something called the Hunt Saboteurs Global Network, and the idea of that is to actually get Hunt Saboteurs, find Hunt Saboteurs in other countries and assist them wherever necessary, and where there aren't any other Hunt Saboteurs, try to set up new groups, and we've been very successful in doing that. Could you just click the play on that for us, mate? Right. So there's a little video playing in the background. I'll turn the sound off because a lot of it's really irritating, so it's just playing silence behind me rabbiting. So a lot of people think that hunting's all over in this country because in 2004 a bit of legislation was passed called the Hunting Act, and this effectively made hunting with hounds illegal in this country. So the whole concept that people are allowed to take a pack of 50 foxhounds and go charging across the country dressed in their fine red coats and see a bit of the British wildlife ripped to pieces in front of their eyes, which is what they actually like doing, this actually became illegal. Right? Sadly, the people that drafted that law, and Tony Blair openly admitted this in his memoirs, they actually sabotaged that act. Right? They made it, they worded it in such a way it's actually completely and utterly unworkable. Because in order to be found guilty of illegal hunting, it has to be shown, beyond any shadow of a doubt, beyond all reasonable doubt, that you actively encourage the hounds to chase the wild animal and tear it up and kill it. Right? So what the Hunts did, far from just giving up when the law changed in 2005, is they pretended to trail hunt. Right? So what this means they do is they shoot a fox, they cut it in half, they stick it in a bag, and then they tow the body across the countryside. Either they have a runner or they have a quad bike, and they tow the body of the fox behind the runner or the quad bike, and then the hounds are supposed to follow the scent that's been made by that bit of dead fox. Now, this is a nonsense. Right? We're out there week in, week out sabotaging these hunts. 9 times out of 10, you'll see the guy who's supposed to be the trail layer walking along behind the hunt. He hasn't laid a trail, he's nowhere near them, if he's there at all. There are so many other stupid loopholes in the law. For example, you're allowed to use hounds, these hunting hounds here, to flush a wild animal out of woodland so it could be hunted with a bird of prey. Now, there are no birds of prey in this country that can take a fox. There's simply nothing big enough. Even the imported eagle owls they bring in probably couldn't take a fox. So the guy standing there with an eagle owl on his arm, pretending that this is what they're doing, using hounds to flush to the bird of prey, it's a lie. It just can't happen. So they're blatantly hunting illegally, and most of the police forces will openly tell you that they have had absolutely no training in recognising illegal hunting. They wouldn't know legal from illegal, and they're certainly not going to arrest anybody for illegal hunting. If you can come to them with the evidence to show of illegal hunting, they might do something, but they're not there to gather that evidence. They're there to prevent public order issues. Right, so the huntsman can be openly hunting like this, right under the nose of the police, and they will do absolutely nothing, because it's not their job, apparently. Funny, I thought they were there to enforce the law. In fact, on some occasions, they still actively harass Hunt Saboteurs. Before the law changed in 2005, I reckon they'd get arrested every single year at least once, usually for aggravated trespass. That's a law that was brought in to actually smash the trade union movement at the time when Thatcher first came in. It's a law that says it's illegal to go on to trespass on land if you intend to commit another criminal offence. Now, when hunting was legal, obviously if you were going on land that you weren't allowed on to stop a legal fox hunt, that was aggravated trespass and the police would arrest you for it. Now, of course, all the hunting going on now is blatantly illegal, but the police are still arresting saboteurs for aggravated trespass, even when what they're doing is not interfering with the lawful activity, but interfering with an unlawful one. Right? It usually doesn't get as far as court, but it takes sabs out of the field. What they usually do is they'll arrest you, bail you away for 3 months, so you can't actually go anywhere near a fox hunt for the whole time you're on bail, and that way they can neutralise a group of hunt saboteurs and prevent them getting near the hunt. Now, of course, all of the evidence that's been used in the successful prosecutions of hunters under the Hunting Act, and there are hundreds of convictions now, all of that evidence has been gained either by Hunt Saboteurs or Hunt Monitors. So if the police are going to arrest you for getting near the hunt, how are you supposed to gain the evidence that secures the convictions? So it's really, really political. Right, it's a very political move by the government. They are telling the police forces, actually, don't enforce the law. It's a law this government in particular really doesn't want. You've got to remember, David Cameron used to ride with the Haythrop Hunt, one of the most violent hunts in this country. Right, so his mates are still out there doing this every Saturday. He'd love to be out there with them. You've got to remember, members of the royal family will be allowed to be doing this. You know, if the law goes back, they'll be back out on the Duke of Beaufort Hunt. I can guarantee it. We'll see a little bit later. Nigel Farage, leader of UKIP, actually spent his day with this hunt you just saw there, the Burstone Westgate Foxhounds. He gave a wonderful speech at Chiddingstone Castle before the hunt rode out, right? Because he's very much in favour of hunting. Right. Eastern Europeans, I think. For some reason, the video seems to have died. As anybody technically minded anywhere near that computer screen, if we could kick it back into life. So you might be interested in what it is that Hunt Saboteurs actually do when there's a fox hunt going on. Right? All the time that they're actually following a drag or trail, if they actually do so, our job is simply to watch what's going on, make sure that they're not actually getting onto a live fox. But the minute they get onto a live fox, our job, as always, is to save the life of that hunted animal, just as we did before the ban. Now, Hunt Sabs, contrary to what is circulating on the Daily Mail website today, which is telling a pack of lies about Hunt Saboteurs and how violent they are, we're dedicated to non-violent direct action. Right? And what Hunt Sabs do to disrupt the fox hunt when they're chasing a fox is probably what the huntsman does. Right? Now the huntsman, if you can get the video playing again, with a bit of luck we might actually get to see, the huntsman uses a whip earlier on the, oh here we go. Start time again. Right, so this is actually the hunt setting out after listening to Farage's lovely little speech. Is actually going to play? Oh, come on, diagnose again. Yeah, we could actually hear Farage over the fence, but the police decided, for some strange reason, to do a vehicle check on our Land Rover, so we're all boxed in and couldn't actually go anywhere while Farage was actually doing his little bit. Anyway, so the huntsman uses a long whip to tell the hounds that they're doing the wrong thing. Now, hounds are brutalised by the hunts. We know full well they kill 11,000 hunting hounds every single year. So when you hear them bleating on about, oh, if hunting's banned, we'll have to kill all our poor little hounds, you cruel people, 11,000 a year, nearly all of them under 1 year old. And by the most barbaric methods, every hunt has about 6 breeding bitches. That means about 36 pups every year. As the hound population is not increasing, 300 hunts across the country at 36 pups every year means 10,800 pups are born. That means 10,800 hunting hounds die every single year, because otherwise the population will be going up, and we know it isn't. Right? We've got evidence, recent evidence from the Chid, which is one of the hunts in the southeast of England, that they had 6 litters last year. They entered only 11 hounds out of 6 litters into the pack over the course of the year. What happened to the rest of them? Well, this is going to horrify you. If the hounds do not have the correct markings, because the hunts like the hounds to look a particular way, they kill them. Right? And the way they kill a young pup that's got wrong markings is they smash its brains out on the concrete floor of the kennels. 10p for a bullet is too much, and that's a direct quote from a huntsman. As the hounds get older, they get placed out with puppy walkers. Any dog that isn't making the grade, anything that isn't actually looking aggressive enough, strong enough, that's it, bullet in the back of the head, body fed back to the rest of the pack. Right? Those that do actually get into the pack, the most worst part of the year for Hunt Sabs is through the summer months when they're cub hunting. The new hounds coming into that pack, they don't know how to kill foxes. It's not in their nature. They're lovely, soppy creatures. They have to be taught to be killing machines. So what they do is called coupling. So they put a young hound with an older hound, and the older hound teaches the young hound how to be a killing machine. Again, any hound that isn't making the grade, that's it, bullet in the back of the head, fed to the pack. Right. One last run in the stomach of its chums, another direct quote from the huntsman. Right. It's what he would have wanted. Yeah. So seriously, that's what they think. This is the mentality of these people. Okay. So all the hounds that don't make the grade are weeded out. Now a foxhound's a big dog. It lives to it's about 13. No hunting hound makes it over 8 years old. Because by 8 they're too old, they're too slow, they can't hunt, they can't run, and that's it. Curtains. Right. So the brutality of these people, not just to the hunted wildlife, but to their own hounds, is staggering. We are trying desperately to get figures for the number of horses they kill each year. We know that they kill horses. I've seen it happen. It's awful. Huntsman jumps his horse over a barbed wire fence. It lands on a metalled road. Its legs go sideways, and it has a heart attack and dies in the road in front of us. Right? And this is commonplace, it happens all the time. But what's even worse is so many of the horses get injured, they don't die on the day, they get taken back at the end of the day, they get put in the field, see if they recover. If they don't recover, well, they're dog food or Tesco's burgers. The lawyers will have a field day with that one. But it's been proven. All right. So what hunt sabs do is they disrupt hunts. And the huntsman trains the hounds to be really, really scared of this whip. They will have been beaten with whips. They'll know what one of these things is. And of course, a hunt sab will never ever hit a dog. Right? But the noise of the whip says to the hound, you're doing the wrong thing. Right? So that sound says to a hunting hound, you're being naughty. They get chasing onto a fox, what do hunt sabs do? Right? Crank the whip, all the heads come up, ooh, we're confused now. We're not meant to be doing this, what are we meant to be doing? The other thing that hunt sabs will do, I've probably been talking so long now, I'm probably not actually going to be able to do this, because it's not the easiest thing to blow. The huntsman uses a series of horn calls and voice calls to control the hounds. Right? The two main ones is one that calls the hounds back to him, back, and one that makes them run even faster, the on-on-on. The on-on-on is extremely difficult to blow. I'm not even going to attempt it. I'll try to do it, come back for you. That was awful. I'll try that again. Might have a drink of water and try that again later. And another little device we have, this is absolutely brand new. I literally only have my hands on this evening. We had an older version previously. I'm just going to see if I can persuade this to work for you. That's the sound of a pack of hounds in cry. Well, it's new technology, I'm still getting my head around it. That's the sound of a pack of hounds in cry. When the hounds pick up the scent of a fox, they start making that noise. Then all the other hounds know that the hound's onto something, and they'll start following it. Right? You play that, all the hounds think, hello, somebody's onto something. And they come chasing over, and then you've got a lovely pack of hounds around your feet. And one of the most brilliant moments of being a hunt saboteur is when you've got 50 foxhounds, and you're just stroking them and then jumping all over the top, because they're really friendly, they don't get a lot of fuss in the kennels. So if you can get them around, you just start fussing them, they love it. Right? And all the time, they're sitting around you getting a stroke, not chasing and killing anything. Right? Other basic bits of sab equipment. Well, of course, we're ramping across the countryside, we need to know where we are. So obviously the trusty ordnance survey, 50,000, essential bit of kit. Somewhere there I've got the GPS system that allows me to know where I actually am on the map. And of course communication's absolutely vital, so the sabs will carry radios. We get travelling Land Rovers, horribly unenvironmental things I know, especially our desperate V8 petrol that we drive around, but it does hold 11 of us, so we're kind of splitting our carbon footprint between 11 people. And of course in rural areas that's absolutely essential. What you normally have are a few very quick sabs that are running, keeping up close on the hunt. They'll be radioing in the position of the hunt. Other hunt sabs will be coming in and out of the vehicles and getting in front of the hunt, because the best placed vehicle is in front of them. That's where you can do the most disruption. And of course the trusty video camera, the footage you saw there, as well as, first priority is of course saving the life of the hunted animal. If you can't actually get in close enough to save it, what you're trying to do is actually film and gain the evidence of illegal hunting for that to be passed on to the police, if they're ever going to do anything with it. They do occasionally if we'd actually get it. All right. And sadly, of course, as this horrible, horrible photograph behind me shows, it's not just foxes and deer and hares that the hunts are after. The government badger cull over the last 2 years has cost hundreds and hundreds of lives for absolutely no purpose whatsoever. The government's own chief scientific advisor told the minister responsible that culling would make no meaningful contribution to control of TB in cattle. And the government minister turned around and said, John, we accept your science, but we need a carrot for the farmers. The cull is that carrot. So thousands of lives were squandered, basically so the Tory government could suck up to the NFU. It's a national disgrace. And these pictures, these were actually taken in the Somerset cull zone just before the cull started. That is a shot baby badger. This is actually just outside the cull zone. Right? The picture before that, you see the metal pipe going into the ground. This was illegal gassing of badgers. Right? It's happening all the time, but these are in deeply hidden bits of the countryside, 100 yards off the nearest footpath. No one's looking, apart from people like us. Right? And when you get that evidence, no one's interested. Right? This is the trouble. So there's illegal gassing and shooting going on all the time. The seal population in Scotland, this was a particular special mission of mine last year. The fishing industry around the Scottish coast doesn't like seals because seals eat fish. fairly obvious. What else are they going to eat? But the fishermen don't like that, especially the salmon industry. So you have one group out on the east coast of Scotland. These are probably the most evil people on earth, the salmon netsmen. What they do is they stretch long nets out into the sea near the rivers as the salmon are coming to spawn. So before the fish get a chance to breed and make the next generation, they'll get caught in these huge long nets. And of course the seals come in because you've got a lot of trapped fish in the nets, and the fishermen shoot them. So they're a challenge to them, they're going to steal their fish. On the west coast of Scotland, you have massive, massive fish farms. If you want the green issue of the day, fish farming has to be it. Right? The coast of Scotland is absolutely cluttered with these evil places. Anything up to 78,000 fish in each pen. Tens of thousands of them starve to death. We have this on video. We have the fish farmer admitting that within each pen, tens of thousands don't make it because they were too small when they put in and they just starve. Now, no farmed animal is allowed to starve. And yet the farm at which we filmed this has got an RSPCA Freedom Foods plaque on the gate. And we told the RSPCA about it and they went, no response. Absolutely, they just weren't interested. We told Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Morrison's, the 3 supermarkets that farm supplies, and they went, it's RSPCA Freedom Foods inspected, it's got to be fine. Well, no, it's not. But they didn't want to see. If you want to see that video, go onto YouTube and put in Scottish seal colours as search and you'll actually see that evidence. Right, so it's horrific. And of course, seals come in occasionally into the fish pens. So even though 10,000 fish might starve in that pen, if a seal takes one of it, it's going to get a bullet in the head. And we reckon up to 4,000 seals a year are being killed around the coast of Scotland. The Scottish Government licenses for 1,000, but as with everything else, there's no policing. Nobody is actually checking. The people doing the shooting have to tell the government how many they've killed, and is not challenged, no one checks. Alright, so that's the work of the Hunt Saboteurs Association. Hope you've enjoyed my little spiel. Be around for questions afterwards.
Thanks, Raoul. And on the badger thing, I'm Irish, as you might guess from the accent. We have no badgers in Ireland, but the cows still get TB, so, you know, who to blame for that, I'm not sure. But it shows how silly their main points are on the badger culling. Now, we get to an important part in the night, and it's not just Danica. We've got 3 good speakers. This sort of event would normally cost you anything from 10 to 30 or 40 quid. So we are now going to pass around the bucket. In spite of the fact that we got 300,000 during the week from Vivienne Westwood, that mostly goes to the National Party, and London doesn't see any of it. So every penny counts. We intend to stand a full slate here in London this year. We have 70 of the 73 candidates to cover London already selected, and the best will be selected within the next 2 weeks. So we will have a full slate everywhere in your London. You can vote Green. But that all costs money. So anything you can help with would be great. If you can't, don't worry. This is free, so I don't want to push on anybody, but if there's any other Vivienne Westwoods there, I would also love a silent collection if possible, so you don't interrupt Danica when with the clash of change. You can put in notes or checks or anything like that. You know, so, but anyway, do your best, thank you. And of course, there is free wine and nibbles after, and some minerals as well. So we'll pass around the bucket now. That's just starting you off.
Or a hat would be more quiet.
Sorry?
A hat would be more quiet.
Maybe, but can you keep passing the bucket on?